Hello and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy, episode 343 for the week of February 6, 2018. My name is Ryan Higgins, who's here this week with me.
Brock Sager, not playing Marvel Puzzle Quest.
Apparently.
You might think I'm Milkman Man, but I'm Bryce Larsen.
And I'm just the always constant Charlie West.
You know, we got to talk about Milkman Man here for a second. So, Bryce, I got some bad stuff to say about DC for a minute, so you better strap in, okay?
Hold on. I don't know if you guys heard that. That was my very aroused self hitting the bottom of the table.
So, no spoilers here.
Yes, because we don't want to have that problem again.
So Justice League America Doom Patrol special came out last week, which is the first part of the soon-to-be classic Milkman Man saga. I mean, it was great. It was top. It was the greatest book of the year so far, right? And so, I mean, let's get that out of the way. But that said, I have some complaints about this book. So,
I wouldn't say it's the best book of the year.
Did you read it? Did you read it, Brock?
Yeah.
Okay.
I read it, if in case you're wondering what I think.
I'd love to hear what you think. Actually,
after you, I will tell you what I think.
So, my thought when reading this book, if no one knows, they're doing a 5-part Justice League Doom Patrol crossover called Milk Wars. Initially, the pitch for this was a godlike being named Milkman Man comes to the DC universe to make it very normal and plain and homogenized, and that was supposed to be like that was the pitch for the series. That's not really what the comic was about, and I mean, I've read all the Doom Patrol books up to from the current issue, and as someone who's read them all, it was a pretty difficult read for one major reason here. This takes place after issues of Doom Patrol that have not been published because Doom Patrol's way out in the weeds right now as for how late the book is. So at the end of the issue 10, there's a pretty major cliffhanger ending. This takes place after that cliffhanger. Well after that cliffhanger. So what's happening at the end of 10 is well resolved by this issue. And I'm like, well, I guess that's how that gets resolved. Like there's... I don't want to spoil the stuff in the issue, but...
I'm way behind, but that would have annoyed me greatly if I was caught up.
Yeah. So as two people who do not read the Doom Patrol comic, Brock, you and Bryce, what the hell did you think of that issue? Like, what did you possibly take away from that issue? Because that was not what I was expecting.
It was like when you're in high school and you have a hippie friend that he's a stoner, of course, and he goes and he gets a big stoner hippie van, and he invites you into his van, and of course you're going to go in the van. Who's not going to go in the van?
You never go in the van.
And there's just like it's decorated in this fucking weird shit everywhere, and
tie-dye.
And some people might like it, but it's very weird and very out there, and I just couldn't give less of a fuck, and it is incredibly boring in the van, and I appreciate that some people like it, but it's certainly not me. I wish that I knew more about Doom Patrol. I do not know much at all about Doom Patrol other than that they're amazing, is what I've heard. This was not their best foot forward in terms of introducing new readers to the Doom Patrol. So I hope that those of you that know the Doom Patrol well absolutely loved it, because as a new Doom Patrol reader, I found it untenable.
Well, I think even as someone who reads both the current Doom Patrol and Justice League, you're just sort of dropped into this very weird situation, and that's common for Doom Patrol, but there was not even an attempt to get anyone caught up, and current readers, even involving even current readers, and the Justice League sort of just drop in.
Well, first of all, it's not even the Justice League, really.
No, it's Justice League America. I mean, and that was always the team, but...
So Justice League of America isn't the Justice League that I am familiar with?
No, America is like Killer Frost and Lobo and Batman, Ray Palmer, Adam.
Killer Frost and Lobo, those classic Justice League.
Well, that's why I started.
It's not Ray Palmer.
Well, he's there
Adam.
too. It's both of them, Ryan Choi and Ray Palmer.
Ryan Choi is the main.
Wait, the Ray.
Yeah, the Ray. Yeah.
The Ray is Ray Palmer?
No.
That's the Adam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I was very frustrated with like not understanding at all what was going on, which I'm not used to at all. I just wish that they could have it was extremely weird, and I guess I can appreciate some weird when it makes sense, but it didn't at all.
My general pitch for this book after sitting down to read it is somebody went, wouldn't it be awesome if we took the DCU and ran it through Nick at Night?
Sure, I guess.
So there was this.
I could see that.
There was this Marvel series a few years ago called Pleasant Hill, right? Is
God,
that
what? Where are you even?
This has nothing to...
right? So that's what it like felt like was you get dumped into this like Pleasant Hill type environment, like, oh, look, everything's fine and dandy, but there's weird stuff going on, and what is the weird stuff? And the milk guy, or whatever is
This is nothing like
shoving
Pleasant
stuff
Hill.
down.
Let's just stop before you go any further down this
yeah,
path.
on like page 1, it's not Pleasant Hill.
No. I mean, the Pleasant Hill stuff in Marvel was like this weird mind-controlled prison that they stuck people in.
Yeah, so so hold on. So isn't there mind control or at least something going on in this with the milk and having people a certain way in a town that looks pristine?
Sure.
Yeah. It's not the exact premise with the prisoners and all that, but they're taking basically the Trinity, shoving him in.
The look on Bryce's face right now is great.
And then the Justice League of America. If you're reading Doom Patrol and like Doom Patrol, you'll like this. If you're not reading Doom Patrol...
but that's the problem. I don't know if you... I mean, I liked it, but it is not at all what I was expecting or what was pitched.
Maybe you have to drop something and read this book.
It's weird. I mean, it's. I knew it was going to be weird. It's weird. It's weird not in the way I was hoping. It's weird in a different way. So I'm very curious what the rest of these books are going to be like, because I fell off most of the Young Animal titles. I thought they all started pretty strong, but a few of them just went off in tangents that I didn't care for. Shade the Changing Girl was the only one I really stuck with. And as we're coming into the second batch of them, my interest is kind of zero on all of them. But this I was very excited for.
I was mostly excited for this so that I could troll you with how bad it was, but it wasn't even bad,
not bad.
so much as that it was just so fucking batshit weird and not in like a cool way. Like, I could go for some Morrison, this is weird, but I can see that there's some deep shit going on here.
Yeah.
This was just weird. I would love a weird outside the box book that is fun and readable and enjoyable, and I would pick up issue 2, but I will not be buying issue 2 of this, even to troll you. Well, there is it is a low price point that I wouldn't buy something to troll you.
Well, I looked through the Batman
Mother
Panic one from this week, and it looked very generic. I'm super worried that this series is going to kind of not be what I was hoping it was going to be. But anyway, I did not mean to go on a 10-minute tangent about Milkman Man and the Milk Wars. It was a good first issue.
To be good.
I did like it, but it's not what I was expecting. So I'm very curious to see where this goes long term.
I'm definitely going to buy the rest of them, but in a strange way, it's a little bit out of morbid curiosity because it could easily turn into a train wreck, but it could also easily turn into something that just amuses me to no end. So,
all right, what's up next?
We've got some news. There wasn't a ton of news this past week, but there was one very big thing, and one probably actually at the end of the day, very big thing. We'll start with this. Now, I'm not a child, despite what people think. So
you're a man child.
I thought that we weren't lying anymore on this podcast.
DC announced during the middle of the Super Bowl. What an odd time to do this. DC Comics announced
it's the best time because no nerds watching it. They're looking for news.
They're looking at everything else. That's true. They announced 2 new imprints within DC Comics focused around young adult and all ages line of publishing. So DC has gone imprint crazy recently. They have had so many imprints. Like, if you think back to Vertigo and Helix, and they had like a ton of them back in the late 90s, this is that plus. So they're putting out a ton of random imprints. This is something different, though. I'm still waiting to actually get some sort of confirmation from DC about how these are coming out and sort of what the model is here. I know what I think should happen. So they are launching 2 lines, one called DC Inc., and this is like a young adult line. I would have believed these were all just original graphic novels, except one of them is called The Graphic Novel, so I don't know what that means. But these are all written by some comic book people, but actually most of these are written by young adult authors. Every single writer is a woman. Most of the creative teams are I believe, all women, mostly or all female creative teams, writer and artist. And this is a humongous jump for DC into the very large young adult fiction and now graphic novel market, which has just been exploding in the last couple of years. So on the young adult end, we have Batman Gotham High, Batman Nightwalker, Teen Titans, Under the Moon, which is a Catwoman comic, and Wonder Woman Tempest Tossed. Now, I don't know the creators of these books, but I'll read them out real quick. I'm sure some of our readers, some of our listeners may know these, especially if you have kids that read a lot of like YA stuff. Melissa De La Cruz, who does Alex and Eliza and Blue Bloods, is doing Gotham High. Mary Lou from the Legends series is doing Nightwalker. Cami Garcia is doing from Beautiful Creatures is doing Teen Titans.
Oh, Beautiful Creatures! Wow.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not familiar with most of these creators.
I've heard of that one.
So, obviously, this is not aimed at me, so I probably shouldn't know most of these creators. But but these are.
I work at a high school. So.
Yeah, and I'm sure most of these are huge books within their field. Lauren Miracle. Myracle, Miracle.
Myrick.
The Internet Girls and Kissing Kate. She's the author of the Catwoman book Under the Moon. And Laurie Helse Anderson from Speak and Chains. She's doing the Wonder Woman book. Now, the more middle school or the younger line called DC Zoom. Batman Tales Once Upon a Crime by Derek Fridolfs and Dustin Nguyen, who did Batman Little Gotham together. So they're, again, comic creators. Batman Overdrive by Shea Fontana, who's doing the DC Superhero Girl series. Black Canary Ignite by Meg Cabot, who does the Princess Diaries. Dear Justice League by Michael. Maybe it was the Ink one that was all women. Maybe the Zoom seems to be a mix of men and women. Dear Justice League by Michael Northrup. Tomb Quest, which is the series that he writes. Green Lantern Legacy by Min Lee from Drawn Together. Super Sons by Ridley Pearson from Kingdom Keepers. I've heard of that. Superman of Smallville by Baltazar and Franco.
There we go.
Tiny Titans. There's
I was waiting they had to have a book in here.
There's Charlie's book. And I know this is actually going to be released. This is the only one where they said they're going to release this is a single issue format and then collected is Superman Smashes the Klan. That would be the Ku Klux Klan. I guess. What? I don't know what other type of clan there is.
It's spelled with a K.
It is spelled with a K.
So it's got to be it. But that seems very aggressive.
By Gene Yang, who does Avatar and the new Superman comic. There was an old Superman fights the Ku Klux Klan thing back in like the 50s or 40s, right? I mean, so there's so I don't know if that's what they're going for, but this seems like
it's in the wrong line if that's what they're going for.
For a middle school focused comic, a Superman fighting the Ku Klux Klan seems like that's a pretty edgy material, I would think. So
yeah, I mean, if it's more on teaching it's more like teaching tolerance and getting kids to be more respectful.
Well, and I'm wondering
individuals is that's the age you want to catch them at.
Be more respectful. Smash people.
I'm wondering if that's why...
I don't think anyone disagrees that punching a Nazi in the face is a bad thing.
Well,
it's the Klan.
You think some people do.
Yeah.
I wonder if that one specifically is going the single issue first, because I feel like that will have a lot of promotional material behind it, and that'll be like a free comic day book. That'll be one they send out as freebies to stores.
Superman Smashing the Klan?
Yeah, I would think that's why they're doing that.
Seems like such a weird...
It is.
Such a weird book. Like,
yeah.
Good luck.
It's a
You're going to read it?
I can't promise you that I will.
Yeah. So as we grow older and grayer and fatter and more out of touch with kids these days.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah. The aging comic market, which has gotten a good shot in the arm recently of younger audience. This is a huge step for DC to really target new readers. Now, this is the gap, right? When people talk to me about comic sales here, I always say that we have a lot of little kids that buy comics. Parents will come in to buy kids their comics in there.
5 to like 7,
5 to 8, 8 to
Yeah.
10 maybe at the high end. And then you go to like 30 years and up. That any sort of middle school, high school, early 20s, that is the gap in comic readers right now. So this feels like that's going to fill a decent chunk
part of the gap
that.
for those late teens and 20s is they don't have
It's
money.
Right, of course. But this is going to fill that 10 to 14, 10 to 16-year-old gap that is probably one of the hardest gaps to fill in comics. Yeah, that is a tough gap for not a lot of people reading comics. And it used to be, right? That used to be kind of that key demographic
Well, I mean,
for kids.
comics
not
were
that
aimed
anymore.
at kids, decades and decades and decades ago. It was aimed at that age group, and then that age group grew up.
Right.
And
kept reading.
Yeah. But nothing really came behind it to support.
Well,
and with the increase in comic book prices, it wasn't something that was easily accessible to kids.
So,
Well, and that's part of the thing, especially if this is a direct-to-graphic novel line. I doubt these books are really going to pay attention to how they're doing in comic shops.
Well, I think that the direct-to-graphic novel is a good way to go, like the DC Superhero Girls, where...
Well, but that's sort of the point Ryan was bringing up about the age range people bring their kids into comic shops to buy books. When you get into sort of like this classic book fairs and that kind of stuff, I think you still potentially stand a chance.
Yeah.
But I think there's also that disconnect of taking your kids somewhere to like a comic book store to buy stuff just isn't the kind of thing you do when your kid starts getting to the teenager
and
age range.
If you, as the only person sitting around without kids, I'm sure you guys are well aware of this. Those Scholastic book fairs, kids aren't buying single issues out of those things. They're buying books.
They buy books or they buy the graphic novels.
Yeah. So
but they're not buying single issues. So
this is my fear, right? So DC isn't. This is no slight at Marvel, Bryce.
Sure.
DC has never had sort of that unlimited cap that Marvel has. Marvel has published 80 comics a month. They've published 120 comics. DC tends to kind of, if they start a new one, they end an old one. They never tend to go outside this sort of range in the last 20 years. They haven't really expanded or contracted too heavily in one direction. So my fear is these will sell really good in graphic novel form, but I really don't want any of these in single issue form, especially at the expense of existing ongoing content that already exists, because I feel like this is a market where DC can just say, we're going to put out a graphic novel or two a month, and it's going to be aimed at this market, and it's completely additional to the 80 comics we're already putting out.
This is something
aimed at
this is something that
adults.
They don't don't do the single issues on these, because I mean, even when parents come in, it's easier to sell the graphic novel to a parent than it is to sell a single issue to a parent. Just because
the kids stuff will sell okay in single issues because there's this sort of there's no continuity to anything. But whenever adults come in to buy comics for the kids, I always point them to the trades and I say, this is a full story. Like, buy this. The kid's not going to get any. When he's hooked, then you start getting the single issues to stay current. But if he just wants to check out a random book, grab the collected editions.
Now, one thing I need to tell DC, and I wish somebody would tell them, is if you're going to release these graphic novels, that's great. But decide at the get-go whether you're going to put a volume number on it.
I think these seem like they're all going to be standalone, at least to launch. So
because with the DC Superhero Girls, they released 2. The third one, they put a volume 3 on it, and then the 4th and 5th ones didn't have it.
Yeah.
Well, again, I think that's partly because it's aimed towards the more sort of scholastic book fair market, where they're typically not going to have every single volume there, and they want anyone they happen to have to be easily approachable for the kids.
Yeah, numbering that stuff is not worth it. When you come to uber nerd collectors, people of our demographic, I want those numbers. Kids, no, they don't need them. At that point, that they don't. Like, I remember growing up, and you would have Babysitter's Club, or you'd have some of those books, or what are the books? They had
the
Choose Your Own Adventure.
Choose Your Own Adventure.
Ones.
They were numbered in the back, but they were not I don't remember a lot of them being numbered on the book itself. So you just kind of read
I used to read
Encyclopedia
Brown books.
Yeah,
and
sure.
They had a ton of those, but it was never. There was a number
There was no continuity.
There was no continuity to
book.
it, but they had like a number to it for like where you would put it.
If you wanted to. Right,
yeah.
but it wasn't like you had to. You have to read these in order. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm disparaging single issue comic books. I mean, that's all I read. But the audience for that is an older collector mentality. The kids market is way better suited by the
graphic
novel, graphic novels.
Like DC's been pumping out a lot of those chapter books.
Yeah,
which I think is a really great thing because it again, you have to have the content out there to kind of catch them at that age before they get into those, the past 8.
Yeah.
And if you can get them in with the ink line or Zoom. Ink is all ages, right?
Zoom is the
middle-aged
kid one. Yeah, Zoom's the super young one. Ink is Zoom's the really young one. Ink is the teenage.
So if you can get them in at that young age and keep carrying them through for what they're learning to read and they're moving up into from picture books to chapter books and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's a really great way to do it. We'll see. I mean,
I wonder how much technology is going to change how kids read books, because I feel like when we were young and we would get comics from our folks or save allowance or whatever, and then we'd go through the high school, college years where we don't have money, and then we get jobs. And now all us grown-up nerds are used to buying comics, so we still do, but there's this whole generation following of kids that their parents might still, because they're the older nerds, buy them comics when they're kids, and then they will still go through the whole phase of not having money, but then they might get their fix by, getting it on the internet and not coming out the other side. I wonder if that's going to factor in.
I think that's why you have a lot of stuff like the Marvel Unlimited service, and DC's got their subscription service coming because that's the way things seem to be moving, that they need to make it available in those kind of
markets,
binge read, binge watch kind of markets, just because it's a lot easier to picture being somebody that age being able to afford a Netflix subscription than being able to afford coming down to the comic shop every week.
But comics for the last 20 years, 25 years or so have been that, where you have the casual person that comes in and buys a Saga trade once every 9 months or a year or something, and then you have the guy that's here every Wednesday that wants every cover. That will hit a certain demographic, and I don't think that'll go away.
Well, I think that's
I don't think it will go away. I just think this line and some of what they're doing is realizing the fact that they have to get to people in different places than in comic shops.
Oh, totally. And that's what I mean. I want this as an expansion of the line, not as a replacement for part of it. Mm. So that's my fear.
Well, the thing is I've gone to a couple of the Scholastic book fairs with my kids and stuff like that at my son's school, and you look around and it's like, oh, there's a couple Marvel things here. And since DC's put out those chapter books, I've noticed it. More DC stuff, but before that, there was more Marvel than DC, unless you were talking with like Lego stuff.
Well, no, I mean I've seen the Tiny Titans there and that kind of stuff before, but I mean my thing is they always tend to have one volume of Tiny Titans and one volume of Spider-Man, and one, like, these book fairs don't bring a whole, like, Superhero Girls is a perfect example. Each book fair, they might have a different volume there, but hopefully that translates to the kids wanting the other volumes and coming into comic shops and bookstores and stuff, because Scholastic is basically, you can special order certain things, but I think most people buy at the actual book fair. And most of the time, it's just getting kids started. It's like they have a volume of Bone. They don't have all of Bone there that can be purchased.
Starts in September. We'll see what happens. We'll stock all these in the store. We've been expanding our all ages section.
Did we ever talk about
quite a bit?
DC pulling their books out of like Barnes and Noble, the single issues?
If they pulled them out, I hadn't heard, but if they had them, it was minimal at best.
Yeah.
Did they have them at Barnes and Noble?
I think they had them but I think they pulled them like last month or something.
Yeah, so that, again, talk about ways to get kids in the comics, right, or new readers in the comics. That whole market is gone. The spinner rack has been dead for years, and they limp attempt to bring it back every now and again. I think Walmart stocked some comics for half a minute, and then they were gone like within a couple months. And it just, or Costco every now and again will be like, oh, we're bringing in all this manga, and that was gone.
Yeah.
Like,
one of my most amusing memories was when I was desperately trying to hunt down an issue of The Flash forever ago, and I ended up finding it at Fry's Electronics.
oh, there you go, it happens.
Good old Fry's.
Yes.
Fry's has so much random shit. It's crazy.
Especially these days. Well, a couple big other big DC news, and one of these actually is part of a question here. We'll get to that in a second. But first, we have right after we finished recording, so the following morning on Wednesday, or was this Thursday? Oh, maybe it was Thursday. Maybe it was Thursday. So it was a day after we recorded. We were wondering what was Brian Michael Bendis going to do when he moves over to DC. Now, the one thing we said, well, at least we know they're not going to give him Action Comics and Superman. So, since we said that, Brian Michael Bendis is going to be writing Action Comics and Superman for DC. They're going to have a 6-issue miniseries called Man of Steel. Does that sound familiar? And then he's going to take over Superman, launching with a new #1 as well as Action Comics, which will continue at 1001. Superman #1. Where does that sound familiar? So this is the deal they gave John Byrne when John Byrne left Marvel and went to DC. Right? Oh. He did a 6-issue Man of Steel miniseries.
It did not sound familiar to me. I was like, what is going on?
The Byrne deal.
Yeah. When John Byrne left Marvel, he went to DC, and he got to do a 6-issue miniseries called Man of Steel, and then they launched Superman with a new #1, and then he took over Action Comics as well. So he was doing both books at the same time. So Bendis is doing the same thing. I mean, I guess just shoot for the moon. Both books are going back to single shipping once a month, so they're not double shipping.
Thank God, I don't think anybody could handle that many panels.
I am torn. I guess we'll see where this goes. I do like Bendis.
On one hand, it's awful. On the other hand, I love DC. So you are
a little bit. Well, here's the thing. He has to come with them. He's not just going to take it over and be like, well, I guess I don't know. He'll fight Toyman. Who knows? I clearly there is a plan and a vision here. And
why do you say clearly there's a plan and a vision? Why do you say that?
DC's not just going to give him this book for just
Bendis would still have to.
Your unfailing faith in DC is your reasoning?
No, I mean I think Marvel too. I don't think they're just going to randomly give a book willy nilly to any of these top tier titles.
The thing is with what's been going on with Superman in Action Comics, with Jurgens writing that, with Tomasi writing Superman, and who's doing Super Sons? Tomasi, right?
Yeah, Peter Tomasi.
So all of that stuff kind of blends together.
Yep.
And they've had kind of this theme going through it, and so on and so forth. Tomasi has really pushed the family aspect in Superman, and the real kind of teenage son rebellious stuff in Super Sons. And Jurgens has just been doing classic, great, fun Superman stories in action, but they all kind of connect with these little threads. The problem is with Bendis taking this over, are we going to just do away with what Tomasi's set up?
No. So Bendis said that's not. They've said that's not happening. Nothing like that. I mean, this is the continuity is continuing. Nothing's changing. John's not going away. There's nothing like that. The plan right now, as far as I know, Superman is going to be. Do I have this backwards? No, I believe it's right. Superman is going to be like the Superman comic, and Action's going to be sort of the Clark Kent comic. Do I have that right? That could be backwards. Either way, it's something like that. One book is going to be
kind of the reverse of what it is now.
Yeah, one book is going to be a little more focused on Clark and the Daily Planet, Metropolis, that sort of element. The other's a little more just Superman fighting big villains. So he's going to kind of look at Superman from both sort of perspectives. I think we have a lot of shakeup at DC coming. We have whatever's going on with Justice League. Scott Snyder taking over Justice League, and whatever that means. I mean, we have Justice League America. It seems like that's reaching out to Titans and Teen Titans in some fashion. We don't know what. I mean, are they renumbering? Are they launching new titles?
Well, that's the whole thing. Is they're renumbering Superman again,
right?
Yeah, but.
And I am against.
So Charlie, it's one of those things where, as long as there's a fair amount of content from a creator, they get to tell their story, it gives us a good sizable chunk of material, I don't necessarily mind the renumbering of a title. Action, if they renumbered, I think they would have riots in the streets. But the thing is with something like Superman, yes, we got we're getting 40 some odd issues of Superman from Tomasi.
2 years, yeah.
That's great, but
2 years of double shipping.
It's 2 years of double shipping. Time-wise, that's not too much content. Issue-wise, it's okay. Like, it's this weird.
So the way I look at it is, this is purely because it's Bendis taking over the book. It's the big launch of the new creator that they managed to get from Marvel. That by putting in number one on it, putting extra emphasis on it.
I buy Superman comics.
It's absolutely gonna. The push on this book is going to be unbelievably huge.
Yeah.
But
it's going to have a bazillion variant covers,
but it would have been big if it was Superman number 48 as well. Like, that's my concern. Like, I don't want to get back into this renumbering, and Marvel put their stuff back with Legacy, but we've already had a ton of those books axed. DC,
but for the better.
For the better, but it seems like DC is gonna relaunch Justice League. I'm assuming, right? I mean, again, Snyder's gonna take over Justice League, so we're getting another volume of Justice League, another volume of Superman. I wish we were over this. I really hate it.
It seems like you're fighting against what's the expression? Yelling into the storm or something like that. There's screaming into the void. What is it?
Spitting into the wind.
No, I think that's
that's peeing into the wind.
I think it's the same. That's the same thing, but
it's just funnier
to some people.
Screaming into the void. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Right. I think that these guys have their market intelligence numbers, and it's showing them as being successful, and you hate it.
Well, but it was successful with Marvel until it wasn't. That's the problem.
Well, the thing is the thing is we've seen the data, right? It's a number one shoots the numbers up.
No, we haven't seen the data. They have the data, which is why they're doing this.
But the store's data, when you look at the store's data, you see this shoot up of number one because you do make more money when number one comes out. Well, but the problem is the drop off to number two.
Well,
but that was during Marvel's just endless recycling and subpar creative teams. Like, I don't think DC is going to just out of the blue launch Aquaman again with a new number one with the same creative team. I don't think so.
By the way, I half reject that it's the renumbering that's the problem. I think that Marvel's problem was bad stories and half-baked creative teams. I think that if they kept good creative teams and good stories, renumbering wouldn't bother people nearly as much as it did.
I go to the Thor problem.
It's just confusion.
But
right, that's certainly part of it.
Yeah.
To me, this is going to work fine in terms of sales because it's Bendis. Just like if it was Jeff Johns taking over a title, it would sell amazing. Just because it's Johns, it doesn't really matter if it's the number one or whatnot. Now, mind you, I could see somebody liking to kind of have a number one chronological,
have that be the trades.
Yeah.
The trades are numbered one, Bendis, number one. Don't renumber the issues. There's no reason to anymore.
This also reminded me a lot of
except for the fact that Superman wasn't on its original numbering as it is now. It started over with a number one with Rebirth.
But I'm just so sick of it.
Like, if anything, if they were going to do a renumbering, I'd rather go back to the original Superman numbering and just stick with that kind of restore original numbering message. But if they're not going to do that, if it's going to already not be aligning to the overall numbering, you might as well.
I guess. Bryce, you were saying?
I was going to say something that Charlie kept talking ad nauseum, which is typical of Charlie, so I lost my train of thought.
Good job, Charlie.
While you're thinking, Bendis is doing more than
it was going to remind me of when Jim Lee and Azzarello took over Superman, and there was so much hype around that, and it was I thought it was a shitty story, but it was a very, by all accounts, mediocre story.
But that wasn't a new number one. That was
right. So not in terms of renumbering, but in terms of hype and the biggest creator on Superman, and it was just received like a fart in the wind, I think.
Yeah. Well,
hopefully this is not, but this is the risk that they run.
Well, as I said, I get the impression that based on comments that we heard from Scott Snyder when he was on, there does seem to be a lot of excitement in general by the creators who are just like, I can't tell you anything specific, but just wait till you hear what Bendis has planned.
Well, though, what does that even mean? Like, they're always excited for the next exciting thing. Like, Jim Lee and Azzarello was exactly the same.
To me, it depends on who's saying it. If it's the marketing people saying it, I ignore it. If it's other creators who have heard the pitch, who have a pretty good track record of not, when you have a good message that rings true over time, I'm happy for it. It's the same reason why I don't discount Slott when he hypes something on Twitter and stuff. It may not have always sort of hit these huge numbers that you might hope it will, but there's always something going on there that he's not allowed to say, but he wants people's attention on it.
But we can also agree that all of the best, or maybe not the best writers, but a common trait with with most great writers is that they're also their own best marketing and sales people.
They have to be.
Exactly, they have to be.
For your own work.
No. For like a rising tide floats all ships. What the fuck is that expression?
Yeah, pissing in the wind is
You have a phone.
It's certainly
look
funnier.
Look it up on Google.
Yeah, why don't I look it up, Brock? That's why don't I do it while I'm in the middle of talking? So a rising tide raises all ships is what I'm going to go with.
That works.
And
that's correct.
So it's not only about their content. They want like DC to succeed. They want all the other DC books to be doing well because that is going to only give a shot in the arm to their books.
Well, let's be terrible politicians. Let's be terrible, political or sports newscast people, and let's throw
pundits.
Let's throw out a bunch of what ifs here. Okay, so here's my what ifs. My what ifs is this: there's a possibility that Bendis is kind of burned out at Marvel, and going over to DC will be the shot in the arm he needs. He's gonna rejuvenate himself. He's gonna come up with this amazing story. Everyone at Marvel, Bendis was kind of the thing keeping these guys down at Marvel because he was sort of this unattainable goal.
Well, because
for all the rest of the creators.
For a while, we were living in Bendis's Marvel.
Oh yeah,
I remember there was a line by Kirkman a long time ago when he shifted out of Marvel. He's like, the dream of Marvel would be Bendis, but there can only be one Bendis.
Yeah. So now that Bendis is gone, is all these creators going to take the step up, and suddenly we're going to get a ton of new voices and great talent at Marvel? He's going to go to DC and have a rebirth of his own, and everything is going to be great. The what if is what if Bendis was just the one guy at Marvel and no one else can hit those sales and nothing else clicks? What if Bendis is just burned out and he goes to DC and puts out a really shitty subpar Superman book and they completely scrap everything and suddenly it's like, oh, this is not that good. I mean, because I love Defenders, right? And I love the Jessica Jones comic. Do they not sell because it's not Spider-Man and X-Men? Do they not sell because Bendis is burned out? But again, I think they're really good. So I don't. Is the disconnect just Marvel sales in general? Is with the Defenders and Jessica Jones show on Netflix, you think there'd be eyes in these titles, but there's nothing, right? So like, it's a real big what if. I have no idea what the next 6 months are going to be like for Marvel and DC.
So things can be two things, as they say on my favorite soccer podcast, the Total Soccer Show, TSS.
Things can be two things.
Things can be two things. So okay. I mean, I think that both of your what ifs are plausible and realistic. I think that Bendis probably was burnt out to some extent. Bendis is probably looking at a fat paycheck to come to DC, where he could probably, let's be real, he could probably fucking phone it in.
Well, it's not just Superman, too. I continue, but he is also going to have his own imprint outside of
sure.
Jinx World.
Yeah.
And he's going to have Jinx World, which is going to be another imprint. So he's going to have potentially 6 to 8 titles underneath him, as well as Superman in action.
Right.
So, plus the TV movie deal, plus whatever else he gets.
This is like any professional football player, that's proper football, that's soccer. When they, any sport really, when you go through, your 20s and you prove yourself, and then you get your fat contract that you get when you're 29-ish to see out the rest of your career.
Yeah.
This could just be that.
Yeah.
And whether or not he was that good or he was keeping other people down at Marvel, I mean, we'll see. Things have been going very well the past 2 or 3 months, much better than they were doing the previous 12-ish.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Like at DC, he's going to definitely suck some air out of the room.
Yeah.
And it's going to be.
Well, the thing
it's going to be
is
tough.
So when I got back into comics back 10, 11 years ago, it was right in the middle of Bendis's New Avengers relaunch.
Probably the strongest Marvel was.
Strongest Marvel was in a long time. And then it was kind of like once that started to like, oh, look what's going on, he started doing more and more stuff.
Yeah.
He started to have influence and editorial control over a lot more stuff. So we were living in.
Well, he wasn't writing just 1 or 2 books, right? He was doing a lot.
But the thing is, it felt like we were in Bendis's Marvel universe versus, kind of just the 616.
Well, he may not have the ability to do 10 titles at once.
No.
That might be the biggest concern going forward if he's biting off more than he can chew at DC.
The thing is, like, if he's doing action like Superman, that's 2 titles off the bat. But now it's like, okay, well, he's going to focus on Jinx World, which is a title that he had going.
So we're going to get another Powers #1, but I have no idea what's going to happen with the rest of those books. I can't imagine. Why would they finish off Brilliant or Crimson or not Crimson? What was it? Scarlet. Why would they even why would they even go back? Like there's no.
They'd never finish.
No, they never finish any of that stuff. Like there's just even Powers at the Powers outside its first year or two was a sub plus 1 or 2 copy book for us. The trades were dead on the vine years ago. The show went nowhere. Like there's no interest in Powers. If he's like, even if it brings it back, I mean, I'm not going to order much.
I mean, I thought that he was trying to do basically a poor job of what Mark Miller did.
Yeah,
Mark Millar did.
Maybe kind of
in terms of like having these separate properties because he sold out, not in a sell out bad way, but like he sold all of that to the Sony network,
I would just,
right?
I mean, if I was DC, I either wouldn't take that stuff or I would just say, cool, we'll print the first trade and keep it around, and you get 1 print on everything else, and we're not going to do anything else with these because I don't believe that there's a market for those books. I just don't think there is a market for them.
So net, I just don't think that he's like a hungry young writer anymore. And I hope he does some good stories at DC.
Yeah.
But I think that it was like his run on X-Men. I thought I had really high hopes for that. I liked it at the beginning, but he really started phoning it in, and I'm on record for my reaction to Uncanny X-Men 500. Like
600?
600.
Yeah.
But also like the way he ended and wrapped up his whole Avengers, the bow he tied on the Avengers run, where it's like he basically made nothing happen.
Well, didn't we say it before that Bendis is great at starting stuff but not ending stuff?
Yeah.
Bendis' end on Avengers really just looped into the whole Jessica Jones, Luke Cage relationship kind of thing.
I just mean like he had some great moments during, spoiler alert for Bendis' decade-plus run on Avengers, but he had some great moments where he killed some iconic characters and didn't bring them back, and then in the last like year or two of his, over a decade-long run, they all came back to life over like one month, the next month another one, the next month another one, and like they were all back by the end.
I get the impression some of that may have come down from Marvel and editorial because a lot of those characters were gaining popularity and all that.
I mean, sure, maybe. I guess are you saying maybe? Because maybe not.
Well, but I'm just saying, if you look at the movies and a lot of the attention that was given, there was no way they were going to leave Hawkeye.
I think that's just fixing the toys after you finish with the toy box. I mean, I think he played with them and went, cool, time to put them all back.
Yeah,
bring everything back.
I wasn't a fan of that. I mean, Wasp came back so unceremoniously in like an annual at the.
Hey, is Ultron Hank Pym still a thing? Like, did they ever? Is he back?
That's so weird.
Did they fix that?
They didn't fix it. It's still a thing as far as I'm concerned.
That's so weird.
And we talk about how like they. I mean, look, 2017 was a dark year for Marvel, but like
Remember Secret Empire? Whoa.
They also brought back Hulk from the dead twice, and
Yeah, they killed
he's
him.
still not back. What is even that?
I don't know. Well, we're gonna
Marvel's
get our
better.
first. We're gonna get our first. The first Bendis Superman is going to be in Action Comics 1000, but
That's
the
one
first
drawn by Jim Lee.
Yeah, the first prelude. So we're going to get a prelude to this Man of Steel miniseries he's doing. This is going to come out as DC Nation number 0. Comes out May 2nd, the Wednesday before Free Comic Book Day. They've done a few of these in the past. They did Countdown to Infinite Crisis. They did the DC Universe number 0 back in the day when we did our Jeff Johns signing. They did a few of these things, on and off. So we have Man of Steel, prelude by Michael Bendis and Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, classic DC artist from the 70s and 80s. Scott Snyder, James Tynion, and Joshua Williamson are doing a Justice League No Justice prelude issue. And the Tom King... who's actually drawing this? I don't think it says. Well, Tom King is doing a story around the Joker being aware of Batman and Catwoman's wedding, which is a prelude into the wedding of Batman and Catwoman.
Didn't they set the date for that recently?
Which will come to a climax in Batman number 50 on the 4th of July. It's a Wednesday. So, Batman 50, that's going to be a big comic for July. I don't know how it's going to end. We'll see.
Does Batman 50 oversell or undersell the X-Men marriage of Scott and Jean?
No, it won't oversell.
I don't even know what... That's a good question. I have no idea what that sold. I have no clue. I mean...
That was during the big
That was during the big 90s, yeah.
Right,
as it started to cool off, but it was still a big issue. I would assume it wouldn't outsell that. They were probably selling 250, 300,000 copies a book, every monthly.
Does that
normal?
Does Comic-Con go back that far?
Yeah, it should. Yeah, we could look. I'll see if I can pull up the issue number for that.
That's crazy.
So
it was issue
I didn't realize
30,
it was
by
that
the way.
big.
It's also going to be a preview for a new fan magazine called DC Nation, which, if you remember, a year or two ago, they tried to launch that DC magazine thing that just kind of didn't happen.
DC Direct,
They
right?
did like
Directs.
one or two of them.
They did one. I tweeted about a problem they had with one of their things, and nobody got back to me
Well,
about it.
it just nothing happened with it at all.
Yeah.
Like they did one of these magazines as a freebie to give away, and then nothing happened with it. So,
Oh, no, it was DC Current.
but yeah, DC Currents. I think that's what it was. Yeah, because that's based off one
It
of
was
their
a
old
throwback to the old paper,
Yeah.
newspaper things they used to do.
Yep. We don't know much about DC Nation, but let me get the question. We had a question here about it, and here we go. This is from Lewis. He says, "What does the 25-cent cost of DC Nation number 0 do for comic stores or DC instead of being free on Free Comic Book Day? Is it significant?" Well, so let's talk about Free Comic Book Day here. If you don't know what that is, it's a year. It's the first Saturday of May every year since 2001, I believe, where comic stores get together to give out a ton of free comic books. Now, they are not free to us. We do have to pay a small amount per copy to receive them, usually in the realm of 15 to 25 cents per comic, although sometimes they're more. They come out on that Saturday. They tend to be reprints, although Marvel and DC generally have some new material in there as well. DC Nation number 0, why it's significant is this, and why I actually like this better than having it as be a Free Comic Book Day. I love Free Comic Book Day. That said, people that come in and get Free Comic Book Day stuff are just people coming in to get Free Comic Book Day stuff. It is very rare that a Free Comic Day book moves the needle on the books that they are promoting. It's a great, great day, but it tends to be nothing else but that great day. Putting out a book previewing No Justice,
Joker story by Tom King,
Batman 50, and Man of Steel by Bendis on Wednesday, that's hitting your whales. That's hitting your Wednesday hardcore comic customers. That's who's going to come back and buy these books. So making it 25 cents, it's actually only 25 cents retail. We pay even less than that. It's a traditional discount. So we're paying nothing for this book. It's super cheap. So most stores, I assume I can't imagine many stores are going to be charging for this. We certainly won't. It'll be free here. But we could also then give it away on Free Comic Book Day on Saturday. Releasing it on Wednesday, it's not technically a Free Comic Book Day book, so we can put it out on Wednesday and still do whatever we want on Saturday with it. So this is perfect because it works for both. Marvel's done a bunch of these in the past, and DC did it with Superman. What was it? The Superman War of Superman, and they've done a few of these.
Yeah, War of Superman. They did the like a 0 issue.
Well, and they tend to be important stories in continuity. And a lot of stores don't order extra Free Comic Day books. So by the time Wednesday rolls around, the regular customers are like, "Oh well, I didn't get this. I thought I'd just come in and get it later. Like I need this important comic." So by releasing it on Wednesday, that's actually a really good idea, and I hope Marvel and DC both continue to do this going forward because
with the new material,
it can be available for both.
Well, it's with the new material or previewing like material that's coming out. Reprints we don't need. You can just give those to us on Free Comic Day.
Well, this is also going to be free digitally that day as well, so you don't have to have a physical copy if you don't want. But I figured this is going to be it's Tom King's first Joker story.
So,
yeah,
digitally, it's going to be free.
It's going to be
Joker
free
story?
digitally.
Okay.
Tom King?
Did you forget War of Jokes and Riddles?
Okay, first, current,
Brock
current
1, Higgins 0.
That was it was Joker, but it was like a flashback.
It lasted like 7 years. How did you?
We have not seen the Joker in modern comics since
current Joker.
Current,
yes.
Yeah, we don't know.
I will give you current Joker,
yes.
but he has written
Joker. That's what I meant. Sorry, we don't know the current.
Oh, you mean because that story was a flashback?
Yeah, I agree with Bryce. Me 1, you 0.
Okay, but that's what I meant. We have not had a current Joker since. I mean, honestly, man, we haven't really had a current Joker since like early New 52 because we don't know what the hell was going on at the end of the Snyder run there because that's
Endgame stuff?
That's like the crazy Joker that's like the faceless one. Like we don't even know like.
Well, he's also in Metal.
But again, that's that Joker. But we don't like. There's that weird 3 Joker thing, right?
Yeah, they haven't.
What is even happening? What 3 Joker thing?
There's 3 Jokers.
There's 3
Oh
Jokers.
my God!
The
Pull
Snyder
your head out of your
Joker
ass.
might not be the regular Joker. This looks like the regular Joker.
Oh my God!
Like there's like.
Can we just move on?
It's weird. So
I
I
have
have
no
no idea
patience
what's
for your
going on. I have
stupid-
no idea what's
Well,
going
that's
on.
okay.
3
We've all
Jokers.
been waiting.
For John's.
Yeah.
How long has it been now?
Couple of years.
When did you go on your honeymoon?
2 years ago?
Because it was in the DC Rebirth.
No, it was before that.
It was before that. That was
The
the
three
big
Jokers?
it was the big revelation towards the end of the Dark Side.
Yeah. It was when he gets in the it's when
Because
he gets in the chair.
He said, "Who's the Joker?" And then he finds out there's 3 of them from the chair.
All right, we got a bunch of people.
See, I was paying attention.
Tons of questions on Twitter here.
Yes.
Let's get to a few of these. The third Summers brother asks.
The third?
Third Summers brother.
That's
yeah.
Vulcan, obviously.
He says, "What do you guys think of the Avengers Weekly? I'm liking it."
Oh my God, it's so good. Was it my turn?
If you want to, yeah. I haven't read any of them yet. We've sold out of most of them, so
No Surrender?
yeah,
Really good.
I'm gonna wait to grab a trade or.
I can't wait to learn more about the Lethal Legion.
From
The
French
Black
copy.
Order is awesome. They gave Pepe Larraz a huge amount of runway because he's done the art on every interior so far, and he's doing a great job. The story's been, it's been great. Not a lot has happened because it's a weekly book, and so there's like big swaths of action, which doesn't advance the story much, but. It's a phenomenal book. I'm really glad that I have it. The weakest part. By the way, since when is Red Hulk not Thunderbolt Ross? I thought that he was Thunderbolt Ross.
Can we just never have a comic with Red Hulk again? I never want to see that character again.
Well, do we have Blue Hulk still?
I have no idea. I know nothing about any of those characters. I didn't read any of that U.S. Avengers.
Scar
I
still
didn't
here?
read. No. I have no idea who any of these people are. So you tell me.
U.S. Avengers, the U.S. Avengers cast, in my opinion, is by far the weakest link of that book, and they sort of give all teams some screen time, if you will.
Who's the girl with the fish head? The
Finn?
she's like a Shi'ar thing. She in the
Jesus.
book still?
Why don't you try to formulate a proper
Finn?
thought before speaking?
With the
What are you even talking about?
goggles?
Nobody knows what you're talking about, including Charlie.
She was on the team, wasn't she?
I don't know. I didn't read U.S. Avengers. I'm reading Avengers No Surrender, which is an incredible book that everybody
she was in
should
the
buy.
Hickman Avengers too.
By the way,
was
for
one of
the
those
price
scrubs that
of
they
a cup
brought
of
in?
coffee per week, you could be participating in the greatest Avengers story that's happened in at least this calendar year. No, but it's legitimately it's a very good read. It's not mind blowing. There's a lot of action. It's a lot of fun. It's weekly, so you get your drip feed of comic goodness. Yeah, it's really enjoyable.
I read the first part.
I read the first part too because it had the nice cover, and
Yeah.
I've never seen another part to read.
Okay, so let me set it up for you. So there's this mysterious bad guy that's
Can we move to the next question, please?
that is playing a game with the Grand Master, and this is proper Grand Master, not Jeff Goldblum. So hold on to your butts, even though I know that wasn't Jeff Goldblum that said that.
But it was in a Jeff Goldblum movie. So
Exactly. Thank you
you're
very much.
okay.
And so they have this game going on between the Lethal Legion, which is this new super villain team with a bunch of new characters for the most part, not all of them, and against the Black Order. And there's like badass Pepe Larraz drawn super villain fights, and the Avengers are getting in the middle of it. And oh my god, it's very exciting. There's only, I think, been 4 issues so far, so not a lot has happened. There's this mysterious, original, in big air quotes, I'm gesticulating here, new original Avenger called Voyager. She's so mysterious. I wonder what she's about. We'll never find out until we read more Avengers. It's very exciting. You should buy them all. It's worth your money more than certainly 99.9% of DC books.
And you can at least buy them from our digital storefront.
Yep.
Yes. So Keith asks, I'm skipping around. We got way more questions than we have time for here, so sorry if I skip your question this week.
He's not sorry.
Question from Keith. He says, what rank are Charlie and Bryce in Puzzle Quest? Marvel Puzzle Quest. How many 4-star characters do they have?
we
And
really
are
have
your
time?
alliances any good?
Please, Charlie, go
They
ahead.
talk about this all the time. Got to hear their
Yeah.
Puzzle Quest update.
So I'm rank 122. I have all the characters.
Nerd
So
alert.
there you go. I don't have them all maxed, but I have all the characters.
Okay, well, I downloaded this game before, Charlie, way back in 2013 or 14? It was a long time ago. And it was not very balanced, and it was taking up just too much time, and so I deleted it. Instead of just having it on my phone and not opening it, I deleted it like a total noob. And anyway, Charlie will not stop playing this game during podcasts for years now. And I was been like, oh, God, that game. At first, it was like...
Well, I just love the fact that he wants to say something, but it's Marvel, so he feels like he can't say something.
No. I was annoyed at first, and then over the time, I was like, oh, I have much better games to be playing on my phone. And I went through the full 12 steps of. I'm not sure if 12 steps is the right thing, but it was like
You do realize he plays, so you have to see it, right?
I think so. But so at first I was just like, oh yeah, that doesn't bother me. And then I was like, oh God, this game actually looks kind of fun. What's going on over there? And I was like, no, I have much better games to play. I'm not going to download it. And then it was like anger, like, no, I already downloaded that game. I'm not going to download that game again. I refused it. And then I was like, oh, that might be kind of fun. I might just download it and see what happens. Look at that. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to download it. And then I'll just play a little bit. And now I can't fucking stop playing this game. So I'm rank 53 or something like that.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you.
That was not just Charlie, but you know.
Well,
no,
given
definitely not.
given the time
That I got back on the wagon. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like I did not expect you to be that high already.
Yeah,
That's
I'm quite high. Let me just say. No, I'm not. But so anyway, it's a very fun game. So I have about 60 to 70% of the 4-star characters. I only have a handful of 5-star characters, and I'm like halfway through my championing of 3 stars ish. So I'm very far behind, but I'm loving it. It's a very good mindless game. I hope nobody from work is listening because I'm able to play it at work. And I love games on my phone that I can like turn off in an instant if someone comes in to talk to me without like losing my save state. Like in Hearthstone, you can't do that.
Yeah, you can't do that
because then you lose the game.
You just
so
lose.
Anyway, yeah, Marvel Puzzle Quest. It's a very, for the most part, brainless game, but a lot of fun little gotcha experience with Marvel characters. Good art, fun little brainless play.
but they still don't have cable.
Well, no game's perfect, Charlie.
That's okay. With Deadpool 2 coming, they're going to give us cable.
I'm shocked that they don't have cable yet. It is crazy.
Darfox 8
They keep
asks.
They keep doing those surveys
sorry,
occasionally.
That's
like,
all right.
Can't be bothered.
what character would you like added to the game? And every time I'm like, give me cable.
Yeah.
Give me cable.
Well, it's multiple choice. They don't even let you get the write-in vote. Otherwise, there'd be at least 2 votes for Cable. Let me just tell you. Do you think Cable would be the first 6-star character, Charlie? That's the real question. That's what.
If so, I'm wondering what kind of token they would add, and then it would probably be like
it would
a
obviously be
only...
called the Bryce token because I'm the biggest Cable fan. So that's pretty obvious.
You can only buy him with
Stupid
Bitcoin.
question, Charlie.
I would love it if they just trolled us both and just had it the name of whatever your handle is on there and be like, it's the Bryce token. It's
Yeah. No, what they would do just to really troll us is they wouldn't introduce Cable, they'd introduce Nate Gray. And so we'd both be like, damn you, Marvel Puzzle Quest!
Well, for a long time, they were banned from adding more mutants, just like a lot of the other stuff, but they removed that ban not that long ago.
Was it around the time that Disney went and bought Fox?
It was definitely before the announcement. I don't know if they laxed it because that was going well, but that's when they started adding Archangel and Gambit and Rogue and all that. They just opened the floodgates on that.
If there's anything that a laxative does, is let the shit flow, Charlie.
So
Darfox 8 asks, do you guys think a genre film franchise needs that whole cinematic universe thing? Can DC make Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman films in their own separate continuity and be as successful as Marvel? Or nowadays is everyone forced to connect everything for financial reasons?
Oh my God! What a juicy question! What a low hanging just. That's me hitting a baseball bat. Look at the Dark Knight stuff. That was as successful, if not more, than most Marvel movies. That's what I was going to do first.
Yeah, so of course they could do their own thing, and I think the idea behind the connectivity of the cinematic universe is so intriguing, and people see that money and they're like, we can make this work.
Right.
I think it's way harder to do, obviously, than it appears.
Yeah, but the true power of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is the fact that they've built up the brand to the point that they can be much more experimental with their characters, knowing that there's a certain amount of money these movies will now make. Versus when you keep things completely separate, I don't feel like Green Lantern got a huge push from The Dark Knight. People didn't really feel that connective tissue at all. But it doesn't matter if it's Doctor Strange these days. It doesn't matter if it's Thor, Captain America. As soon as they fully established that universe and got Avengers out there, people started recognizing this is the latest Marvel movie.
Right, but it took them a dozen movies. They were all good to do that.
That's the strength of that kind of connected universe.
Right. So the biggest failing of the DC universe, among its many, was that they just saw the dollar signs and they just had to make it a connected universe. I mean, going from Man of Steel, which was not part of the connected universe, to all of a sudden, oh no, it's part of the connected universe, and then
Man of Steel was always planned to be part of this sort of connected universe.
I guarantee you, when it was in its creation stage, it was not supposed to be part of. It was just another Superman movie, and that it was not going to be part of a cinematic universe.
Think about when Man of Steel was made.
I do not remember.
And
2011.
Yeah. Wasn't it just after?
It was after Iron Man. It
was way after Iron Man.
Yeah.
Iron Man had been out a long time.
Green Lantern and Man of Steel were definitely supposed to be part of it, and they just they hired the wrong people to do them. I think that's Snyder is not a cinematic universe guy. He's a Zack Snyder guy.
Yeah,
he's into his own thing, and I think that was the biggest mistake starting off in that direction.
Even for me, the biggest mistake is
for
the fact
the cinematic
that
universe.
So they had the successful Dark Knight trilogy, and it was great.
One of the greatest trilogies ever.
Yeah. That all was going on while Marvel was building up their cinematic universe. And they kind of went, we have this working, it's working already. And they didn't really put any foundation. They kept kind of going, maybe we should be doing that, but they didn't really do any.
Man of Steel was 2013. Jesus. Yeah. Well, I was thinking 2011. Yeah. It's way late.
It was the second they got to the end of Iron Man, I'm just okay, I'm sure DC's paying attention to this because you had Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk that came out at the same time, and they linked those two directly right away.
Yeah.
And you started to get this buzz, especially from comic people and cinema people, talking about like, oh, they're building to something. And you kind of look over at DC, who was already talking about like a Justice League movie at that point. And then they scrapped the Justice League movie. They're like, okay, well, I'm sure Warner Brothers knows what they're doing. And like, as Marvel kept going forward, think about how crazy it is that DC didn't even try to get like the cinematic universe going till after Avengers. Like, Marvel was already full steam, already well into their cinematic universe before DC even dipped its toes in those waters because of how long the development to just get something started in this went. And they had their own production company that entire time.
Right.
Like, Marvel, during this process, got bought by Disney, got the money and backing to really shift into full gear on this stuff. Where Warner Brothers and DC technically had it from day one and just never did anything with it.
Well, don't put the cart before the horse. I mean, probably a large reason why Disney bought them was because they saw how well they were taking care of their shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like they got the financial backing of Disney and good for you.
Well, no.
Now go do even better.
No, but
Disney was probably
what I'm
like,
saying
yeah,
is,
you guys have your shit together, unlike those jokers.
Marvel had its shit together, but they didn't have bottomless pockets, meaning the amount they could have in development
Sure, but
at once.
whatever. They had done flawless films up until that point, including the Avengers without Disney. So, was that before Disney? That was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Avengers 1 was before I think Avengers 1 was after Disney.
Maybe you're right.
Well, it was certainly, it must have had
Because I remember
most,
thinking,
if not all, the production done by the time Disney bought them.
I just remember thinking when Avengers 1 came out, holy shit, Disney already made $1 billion back from their investment.
Yeah, it'd be Iron Man, Hulk,
Iron Man, Incredible Hulk,
Iron Man 2,
Iron Man 2,
Cap Thor.
Cap Thor.
I think that was...
Wasn't it Thor Cap?
Oh, we're not going in order,
Yeah,
you big nerd.
I'm just trying to figure out
You
when
big
the
adorable
purchase
nerd.
It was Thor, Cap, and then we went from
Yeah.
Cap to Avengers, right? Yeah.
Anyway, to answer the question, no, not everything needs to have a cinematic universe. The problem is that these decisions are not made by nerds. These decisions are made by people in suits and ties behind big desks that see dollar signs and are trying to figure out how they can get their nut, which is to say how they can get the most money for them and advance their careers. And so they see that by making risky plays. And so the risk did not pay off, in my opinion, with the DC Extended Universe, however much it paid off in over and over for the people that were behind the Marvel stuff. Now,
Oh, yeah, no, they bought him after Iron Man and Hulk. Yeah, Iron Man 2 was Marvel. Yep, they bought him after 2 movies. Yep, all the rest of those were Marvel. Yeah, they bought him in
You mean
2009.
Disney. All the rest
or
of them
Disney,
were
sorry. Disney, yeah, they bought him in 2009.
Well, the thing is
But
like,
it feels like... It doesn't feel like they've owned him for almost 10 years. That's incredible. Does not feel that long.
feels like yesterday they had Spider-Man with Mickey Mouse ears, and they said it's the end of the Marvel universe.
the thing is we we had Marvel set up that stuff with Iron Man and Hulk, and then Disney bought them and went. Iron Man 2 got pushed through really quickly through production, and then they kind of leveled out with where their production schedule. They got a good rhythm going. So
they put Iron Man 2, Thor, and Cap came out like a year apart from each other. They were hauling ass. That when Marvel or when Disney bought them, that's when they started hauling ass.
Yeah, but
that's where they had the money to greenlight multiple productions.
Iron Man 2 came out in 2010, but it was early 2010 when it came out.
Yeah, I don't remember the release date.
Because it was like we had Iron Man 1 and then we had Iron Man 2.
Yeah, it was a year and change later. It was pretty quick.
So, next question.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think what Bryce said was right. It's people
Confirmed.
People with suits see money and say we should do this too. Why can't we? And I think they should. I mean, I think the DC universe should have a cinematic universe, but they need to.
That's a great point. Ultimately, yes, they should.
Yeah.
In my opinion, if you can make the cinematic universe work, it's always going to be better. Again, that's my opinion. But the problem is that it is tricky to make. And so taking a sort of a Me Too attitude to it isn't going to serve anybody if you're not going to get your shit together and do it properly. But, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to add
I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was gonna add to your thought of the, making the connected universe. The difficult part is breaking away from that, right? Trying to do something that's not in that universe per se. So like if they have a Batman that's in that connected universe, but they want to tell another type of Batman story in a movie, it might be, well, Batman's not the best example because he sells no matter what. But if they wanted to tell a different type of story, it's harder to break away from,
like the Netflix Marvel movies, which are peripherally at best connected to the universe.
Yeah. But it's more of like taking something and making it completely different. Like, we have if they wanted to take a character and not even connect it, but give us a new character, like say they wanted to do
like Runaways.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, sure, they could. They just do something else with it and put it on TV.
They have Runaways is great.
Make it Netflix direct to Netflix movie.
Movie-wise, when you make that universe in the movie universe, it's harder to break away in the movie universe.
But if DC comes out and says we're going to pull. I'm going to say Jonah Hex just because. I mean, I know they did that shit in Jonah Hex.
How about
movie.
Lobo?
Sure. They can just say, let's do Lobo. Let's have a Lobo movie.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with DC. Just a Lobo movie. Sure. Just character.
And they're probably going to do it with Shazam. I can't imagine that they're going to, at this point, have any Shazam relation to the current universe.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, they've started filming, or they're in production, so they should start filming soon. Yeah, I got no clue.
This guy is so random.
Yeah.
So we have a question.
I mean,
I'm talking about Toby for those people that are
in terms of
he just showed up, which is
the
like,
Shazam movie,
timely.
I think the intention is still to have some sort of shared cinematic universe, especially with because like Dwayne Johnson's even like a producer on the Shazam movie. I'm assuming as part of his deal for being Black Adam and stuff.
Yeah.
And if Black Adam's not intended to be in the Shazam movie, but a different DC movie.
Yeah, the rumor we've talked about for a year now is, 9 months or whatever, is that he's going to be in Suicide Squad 2. But who knows if that's true? That's just the rumor. So we'll see if it gets closer. Captain Marvel, no relation, I think, on Twitter asks, "What is it about the demographic? Jesus,
you just love Democrats so much. You're just trying to work it in.
What is it about the demographics that buy from your store that means your sales trends don't match national sales trends? Marvel performs a lot, doesn't perform as well in your store as they do on the Diamond sales charts. I mean, every store is unique, right? No store is going to 100% match the Diamond sales charts. Some of these books go up and down for reasons outside of kind of the in-store personalities or in-store the culture of the general readers or the consumers within the store. Every store is going to have its own little universe. you know what I'm trying to say? Like every store is going to have its own little different.
It's not going to have an expanded universe.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
So what we've always heard about the Bay Area, and to what degree this is still true, I don't know.
Oh, God, I can't wait for this sentence to finish.
No, I mean, we've been told by people at Diamond that the Bay Area has traditionally been DC-heavy compared to Marvel, just on average. DC tends to do well in the Bay Area. There are certain segments of the country where Marvel tends to do much better than DC. The Bay Area, for whatever reason, is always skewed slightly. Not that DC outperforms Marvel always or in every store, but just many stores do better with DC
at a macro
than Marvel.
level.
Yeah. So again, I don't know to what degree this is still accurate, but at least there was times where this is true. Here, there's at least one store nearby that at one point was like almost Marvel exclusive. So I think we just somehow naturally got kind of customers looking for DC comics.
Yeah, we got known as the DC.
I don't even know that we're known as a DC store. We have tons of Marvel stuff too, but we have somehow built and have, despite my best intentions, despite my best efforts, I try to actually purge all the Marvel customers from the store. But, we still have a few sticking around. That's a joke, Bryce.
Bryce won't leave.
I laughed. It was your best joke of the night, which is, woof.
No, but we've somehow built up an audience of DC customers. And then as the employees of the store tend to be a little more DC heavy, Our
Well, the thing is
recommendations tend to be a little more DC heavy.
The thing is, when I came in,
and then Tom King starts working, and then it's just like, well, fuck, just right over the edge.
Well, when I started working here 11 years ago, it was, I came in like Marvel. I want to read Marvel, buying tons of Marvel, barely any DC. But there was this natural progression over to DC, not necessarily because of like your influence, but I was just looking for stuff writing-wise that I enjoyed, and the writing was more at DC for stories that I enjoyed, right?
Sure.
Coming in and reading 52, I was like, oh, this is who are all these characters? This is interesting. Marvel was giving us at the time Secret Invasion.
Oh, such a good story.
Right. But then Secret Invasion spawned into whatever the hell we got after that, which never really hit the mark again. So I think for me
Fear
it was
Itself, right?
Well,
Civil War.
Well, going back to the Bay Area thing for a second, I think the DC being very graphic novel heavy in the early days compared to Marvel, who never really did a lot of trades. And not that DC was heavy in the 80s and 90s, but DC had always been a little kind of on the forefront of collected editions, and that may have kind of spurred sales along a little bit more for the.
Well, I know when I came in and you were recommending things, there was you're like, oh well, I'd recommend this, but we don't have it because it was Marvel. But we had I recommend this, and DC had it.
Just for collected
stuff. Like
there were years where Marvel had like the worst trade department.
Yeah,
it's better now, but I'll burn through a couple more questions here.
Wait. So I have my answer, which is the troll answer, not helpful at all. But it's because
why do you shop here?
You already kind of said it, which is that Higgins comes, his customers come in here and he points them towards DC books. But I guess you already said that, so.
I think it's more missed opportunity towards Tom King or Jeff Johns or Grant Morrison, and they happen to be writing at DC.
He's like, we have a flow chart here. Are you a man baby? Oh, yes, you are? Okay, DC is the way to go.
Stefano asks, will Action Comics be the next comic to ship that fabled 1 million copies? Will any comic get there again, Action 1000 or otherwise?
Wait, 1 million?
Yeah. Been a while.
What was the last one that did it?
Nothing recent.
Wait, what comic
90s?
has ever reached 1 million?
Oh, I mean,
number one.
Tons of them back in the night. Well, I mean, back in the day, plenty of them.
Back in
wait, I'm sorry. Did I just really brain fart?
Sales.
Okay, sales. Okay. Yes, I just brain
Your
fart.
fabled X-Men number 1 sold like 8 million copies.
Got it. For some reason, I thought you said like,
but nothing post crash.
Higgins has 90s. Had a good diatribe on this a couple of times, which is to say that it will never happen again. Not for the fault of the talent currently, but just the way that the market is nowadays is nothing like it was. I don't know.
The fact that Doomsday Clock sold like 250,000 copies means we're never gonna get it again.
So I have a weird question, just because I know they don't typically count these. But what are the print runs on like the DC Free Comic Book Day and stuff like that?
Those could be in the millions, potentially. I mean, they might not be, but that they could be.
I'm just curious. I'm curious if
when you're putting in 500 copies on your order.
Well, more than that for some stores. So DC and Marvel and other companies, they do exclusive cover stamps at 10,000 copies ordered for the Free Comic Day books. So it's very possible that those have hit million. Yeah. But you're looking at Action Comics is going to cost stores $4.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how many copies people have ordered. No stores going in. Not enough stores would possibly go in on an $8 comic to get 1 million copies sold.
Yeah, no.
It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
But it'll sell huge.
But the nice thing is everything is open order with that, right? Is there any exclusive variants or any stuff that they're doing? They're just doing those.
Well, they're store exclusive covers. Sure. Yeah.
Store exclusive covers basically means they give you a free copy.
No. Store exclusive covers means you order 3,000 copies.
Oh, that one. Okay.
Yeah. Alex asks, do you feel like Batgirl's gotten stupider over the years since she was introduced to the New 52? Yeah.
Fuck hipster.
Yeah.
Batgirl.
Just going to move on to the next question.
Charlie. She totally
Gail
has.
Simone. New 52 Batgirl was great.
Gail Simone.
Right. And ever since then.
It's the hipster Burnside Batgirl that is garbage. And that's
that wasn't till halfway through the New 52 or something.
It was like 20 some odd issues in or something.
Yeah. I mean, I agree the Burnside stuff has definitely gotten stupider, at least in my viewpoint.
I don't think she's recovered.
But I've stopped reading it long enough ago that I can't fully judge.
I still read Birds of Prey, but they kind of play her up like a girl, like a young girl in that book. They don't play her up like the smart adult woman that she normally is portrayed as. Yeah. They play her up as kind of.
The last time we saw the smart adult woman was a Gail Simone run.
Yeah, but we don't get that. We don't get the more mature version of it.
Like an omnibus.
I know, that's why I keep bringing it up, because I really want that omnibus.
Yeah. Alex also asks, can we finally find out what Bryce's thoughts on X-Men Grand Design are? You've never talked about it. I feel like you want to like that book. I had talked to a few people about this book where I feel like this is a book that very few X-Men fans are really going to like. And I feel like you want to like it, but I don't think you do.
Okay, that's a great way of saying it. Well, my answer is going to be very anticlimactic. So I have
not read it.
Burn read it, but not like fully, and otherwise have just leafed through it. So my plan is that exactly because of what you said, but also because I know that I'm going to get the sexy oversized hardcover when it comes out. I just didn't buy the singles because it's an instant buy for me in the hardcover format that I know it'll make its way out into.
I really wonder what you'll think of it.
Having leafed through it and read what I've seen, it seems tough to swallow. And certainly there's going to be some element of, no, it must be good. So I'm going to keep going through it. And it'll be more out of respect for the medium and the creator and the balls that it took to like have sort of on the nose title wise, grand design, like what a bold concept for the story to sort of tackle. So yeah, I do want to like it. That is true. I do like it though. It's not to say that I don't like it from what I have read. But yeah, it's not easy reading. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, when this was coming out, I thought it's an interesting title, but I think most X-Men fans won't like it. It's just not it's so the opposite of what I think X-Men readers want.
That's a
in a
great
comic.
way of putting it. Yeah, like X-Men readers, some of us might want big bombastic colors and action and characters and plot and all sorts of excitement, and this is sort of
lapsed X-Men readers who are picking up more stuff by Fantagraphics probably will. This is like their favorite thing of all time.
Sure.
If you read in the '80s and now you hate superhero comics, you'll probably love this. But I can't see current X-Men fans being into it at all. I read the first couple pages and I was like, yeah,
we're worried about current X-Men fans being into X-Men Red.
Well.
Oh, I just picked mine up today. I mean, tomorrow. No, wait. This goes out tomorrow morning. I just picked mine up today, and it
goes out Tuesday night.
Oh, okay. Well,
Chris asks.
Yeah, please put me out of my misery.
And of course, we're gonna have a lot more to say about this in the coming weeks. He goes, "You guys excited for Black Panther? Early Rotten Tomatoes score is 100%."
What happened to those DC trolls that are going to bring that thing down?
We'll see what happens with the DC.
They said the fan number. We only have the critics number so far.
We'll see what happens to the DC fans, quote unquote, claiming they'll sabotage a score after what they said Marvel fans did to Justice League. So, just for the record,
how many times did you go on as a different account, Bryce?
I want to hear what Higgins has to say.
For the record, I got nothing to do with this at all. I am super excited for Black Panther. I'm really hope it does well, and I never rate anything on the internet. So I have nothing to do with these fans.
Except on the podcast.
Is that
your lists?
Is that a real story, though? It seemed like a bullshit story. Is that a real story?
A group of random people on Facebook made a page that said we're going to sabotage the Black
Is this
Panther.
The same 10 guys that
But it's the fan rating
that
they are supposedly going to sabotage.
Oh.
And
all that's posted is the critic rating.
And even with Justice League Justice League and Star Wars, Rotten Tomatoes came out and they said, while the ratings may not be what people want, we detected no weirdness in the ratings. They're all actual accounts. There wasn't like tens of thousands of troll bots that suddenly.
It'll be those 10 guys that went down to LA to march, right, to get the Snyder Cut.
The Snyder Cut, yeah. Look,
what?
You didn't
10
hear about
guys?
that?
A handful of people went out in front of DC and took like a photo op of
No way.
in front of Warner Brothers with like hashtag release the Snyder Cut. They were like a bunch of cosplayers and stuff. I don't know. I think
They were like, "This is gonna be where everyone's gonna march. It's gonna be a
No.
ton of people." It was like 10 guys.
I'm pretty sure
That is that true? That is hilarious.
the way Brock is reporting it is how the comics press and Twitter reported it. I think it was actually just a group of people that said we're going to do this and have fun with it, and it turned into like we're going to riot and protest. It's like I don't think that was actually the case. That said,
Brock's story is hilarious. So.
Black Panther looks incredible, and I hope it does amazing. And it's the most pre-sold tickets ever for a
No,
superhero
my wife
movie.
asked me about this. That's such malarkey. Didn't Justice League have it before this? And didn't the previous superhero movie have it before Justice
know.
League?
I
And
don't
didn't the movie before, like
I don't think Justice League.
No,
did.
This is
That-
like
Justice
why-
League didn't.
Justice League did.
this is like why every movie outsells the next movie is because
except for Justice League, right? That didn't.
well, that movie's shit. But no, just playing. Well,
No, Black Panther I think is going to be big numbers. They're on pace for a 150 million opening weekend, which that's like second to Star Wars only. Like that's huge. That outpaces. I mean, BVS.
Do you know what this means for Ant-Man and the Wasp?
BVS did like 160 something opening weekend and then plummeted. Did Avengers break 200 opening weekend?
I don't remember
I don't
anymore.
remember.
yeah.
But it's big.
Out of old age.
It's for a single character movie. This could be the biggest.
how did Wonder Woman do? Because this is also a genre-breaking movie of a sort.
Wonder Woman did like 110 opening weekend.
So is this? I mean, I think it is, but my memory is about as good as Higgins' taste in movies. Is this?
Yeah, the 103 opening weekend. Yep.
Is this the first solo black superhero movie title we've ever had?
No.
Blade.
Blade.
Okay. Yep. See, I was wrong already. First time ever.
1, 2, and 3. Although, let's say 1 and 2.
But 3 had Ryan. What was his name? Toby. Damn it. Oh well.
I believe you were looking for. I believe you were looking for Reynolds.
Yes. Thank you. Brock
There's
is
so
our
many questions. Okay, we're
token Toby.
gonna wrap up here with one.
Julian
for Stefano.
Titus. You have to ask Julian's question.
Where's Julian's question?
You have to ask Julian's question.
Where was Julian's question?
Is it like
Let's
to
ask
you or
Julian's
something?
question. Julian.
No
Where's
pants.
Julian? Okay, there we go. Julian's Titus's question. Okay, we'll do this one and then the last one I saw here.
What's the deal with pants?
Julian's question is, what's the most embarrassing comic in your collection? Mine is either the entire 4-issue Marvel miniseries Brute Force or the first issue of Mad Dog from Bob Newhart's last sitcom. Did Bob Newhart make a comic book? Like I don't know anything about
I
this.
don't know.
Most embarrassing.
So I was
don't
sorting
even
my
know.
comics. I've been resorting my comics. I determined that I had more slapstick comics than Amazing Spider-Man comics. It's
Wait,
real,
what?
100%.
That can't be real.
100%.
Wait,
Because
what?
he was in the New Warriors.
He didn't even have that many.
Yeah, he had a 4-issue miniseries.
How do you not own?
You don't own 4 issues of Amazing Spider-Man? That can't be real.
You know what? I might, because I have Round Robin's Sidekick Revenge. I think that was 4 issues, plus I have the
With
annual.
the Sinister Six?
No. Yes. No. Yes. No. It's the
Round
one-
Robin, Sidekick's Revenge.
Yeah, is the Sinister Six in that?
I thought
It's the one with Darkhawk and Night Thrasher
Yeah.
and like other characters.
Sinister Six. That's where he gets all of his crew to help fight the Sinister Six.
Yeah, I have that.
That's
and I have
amazing.
and I have the Amazing Spider-Man annual that crossed over with the New Warriors. So technically, that might be like 5 or 6 issues. So maybe I do have more. Oh wait, but is there a second slapstick miniseries? Not the shitty new one. I mean, like the good New Warriors tie-in one.
God, you're weird, man. You don't have Spider-Man, huh?
No. I don't have too many Marvel singles anymore.
What do you mean anymore? Did you have a bunch of Amazing
Yeah.
Spider-Man
Oh,
and
yeah.
you sold them?
Oh, I mean, growing up, all my comics were Marvel.
What do you own a comic book shop? You like bring your personal collection in here and just sell it?
I've purged my collection a few times.
Yeah,
I've
no,
gotten
he
rid of
really?
a lot of
Yeah, he
stuff.
brings it back in, hands it to me, and says, "Put it in the bin." I'm like, all right.
Really?
Look, I don't want any. I mean, the only X-Men comics I own are Grant Morrison's X-Men and X-Force/X-Statix. I don't own any others
insider
right now.
trading if you buy it from yourself and then resell it to yourself?
I mean,
You're only buying one, so
I'm going to say no.
I'm just joking.
I would have to say that I am in probably the same boat as Julian, and I think I still own that 4-issue mini of Brute Force.
Yeah. No brute force for me.
I don't even know. One that's pretty high up there that Toby probably has also is
X-Men swimsuit?
it's called what?
Oh.
Is that a thing? I wish I bought that.
Don't give you 100% have the X-Men swimsuit special. Don't even give me that shit.
You mean number 5 or 8 or whatever that was that Jim Lee drew?
No, it's like the magazine.
Oh.
The magazine?
Yes. You look at his look he's giving us. He's like, I don't know. What do you? I don't.
Wait a minute.
Clearing his browser history while he's doing it.
No, that would delete not the X-Men swimsuit edition. No, I would be. I have no problem if I bought the swimsuit edition of X-Men. I would definitely cop to that.
I would definitely
didn't
hang it on
even-
my wall and.
What is
Yeah,
this
you
thing?
100. How do you not have this?
Wait, whoa! And I'm looking at Bishop.
We knew it.
Wait a minute. Was this a series of magazines?
Yeah, there was
Yeah,
a
why
hit.
did I
Yeah.
have Rogan Gavin on the cover?
This is wait. It wasn't a comic book. It was a magazine.
Yeah.
No, it's just pinups
It-
of X-Men and swimsuits.
Look, if it wasn't
Guys and
comic book
girls.
size to go in a bag and board,
No,
I definitely
guys
didn't get
and
it.
Girls, just to it's for
Anyway,
girls also.
That one.
No, there was a Gambit one too.
after that, Anticommatic, my most embarrassing. I don't even know, but one of them that's high up there that I'm always like, what was I even doing? Was it was something like the Tao of the Dragon or something? Do you remember this?
Spirit of the Tao.
Spirit of
the Tao.
I have that bound.
By the Straczynski.
I don't know, but I was like, this has good art. It must have a good story.
Is that Philip Tan?
Who is that?
Yeah.
Mary Jane.
Yeah, I definitely
Do you not got those Marvel swimsuit issues?
no. Well, I mean, like if they're magazines and I can't bag and board them, I never would have bought them. But missed opportunity, Bryce. Like, did they sell them in comic book shops?
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
That's weird. Where would they have put them on the latest issues wall? What a
Yeah.
weird
Sure,
thing.
sure.
Dude,
Although this would have been in the
you guys
90s,
said
my
all
parents.
15-year-olds like
No. At this
yes,
point,
it was.
no. At this point, my parents were
fucking honest
probably
about
buying.
it.
My parents were probably buying me comics, and I wasn't going to ask my mom to buy me some X-Men swimsuit edition. You guys are idiots.
So,
Charlie,
Charlie,
Okay, Spirit of the Tao is probably one of the most up there. Charlie's turn.
I'm sure there was something, but it's probably here in the shop at this point. Just because I did a big purge years and years ago of going, do I actually want to hold on to these single issues? And brought them into the shop and said, here you go, Ryan. How much credit will you give me for all these?
That's a good one. Second place for me is probably anything written by Simon Spurrier. I'm embarrassed to own
Yeah,
any of them.
I don't blame you for that one.
Yep.
So final question from Stefano. And sorry if we didn't get to your questions. We got way too many.
not sorry.
Stefano's question was, what was the lowest point in your history of reading comics in terms of general satisfaction with the medium? What were you reading or not reading? And were you close to giving up comics? And how'd you come back on? So
The lowest point? That's a fucking morbid. Why do you want to know, like, our
but
sadness?
what got you back on the wagon? How'd you get back? That's
Oh, a little rebound. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've talked about mine more than once on the podcast. Back when I was a child reading Marvel comics, I realized how stupid they all were, and I stopped reading. Sorry, Bryce took a giant bite of food, and I just had to go in. No, when I was young, I started reading Marvel comics, and it was almost exclusively Marvel, and I legitimately did sort of start to outgrow them at one point. I mean, obviously now I love them all, but at the time, I did start to drop most of what I was reading, and there was a moment where I may not have read any more comics. I was reading only a couple books, a couple indies, and a couple books from Vertigo at that point, Sandman Mystery Theater, and really not many Invisibles. There was only a couple books that I was reading, and I was in high school, like I didn't have any money, so that was as close as I ever came to stop reading. And honestly, what got me back into reading was Grant Morrison taking over Justice League. That was the thing that kind of pushed me back into like really getting superhero stuff again. and that was just, and then it was over after that. I got in. I never stopped at that point.
You own a comic store.
Yeah. And I started working there a little after, like officially working, 2 years later or something, a year and a half later. So, yeah, that's when I got really, really back in. It was Morrison's Justice League.
For me, I kind of sporadically read comics, as a kid. And then I started getting into them when I was a teenager. But then I started to get them at when I was starting to go to college and stuff, and I had the money, so it was okay to buy them. But it was during that Marvel. It was after Heroes Reborn, so they had all that Straczynski Thor Straczynski Thor, and God, who was doing Spider-Man at the time. But all of those were renumbered and starting over, and I was trying to get into those. I really enjoyed the Fantastic Four when it was out then, but the rest of it it was good, but it started to peter off.
Straczynski wasn't on Thor? Who's doing that? He was doing Spider-Man.
He was doing Spider-Man. Who was doing the Thor one? I can't remember. I know it was Romita Jr. art.
Yeah, I don't remember who did Thor in that.
Thor might have been Liefeld for Heroes Reborn.
No, after.
Oh.
But it started to.
I would say Romita Jr.
I was getting it, and then I was reading it, and it was okay, but it wasn't really hitting anything. And then I just kind of stopped.
Yeah.
And then I stopped for a while, and I would come back to comics occasionally and go into a store and we'd get a Wizard magazine and see what's going on, but nothing really clicked until I came back in here and you told me you own the store. Well, you said, bitch, I own it, so.
For me, it was probably in college when we didn't have the money for comics, and I stopped collecting comics, what's it called? Whittled down my collection, weaned off it, because I was like, oh, you know what? Actually, life is just fine with no comics, and I'm not spending any money. It's sort of like when I used to not get so much Starbucks. But then towards the end of my collegiate career was when the Onslaught stuff started coming out, and I was like, holy fuck, this is incredible. And I was like, maybe I'll look into this a little more. And by then I was out of college, and I was like, okay, it just happened to the timing of that last year of college, and then coming away from college and having Onslaught be a thing was like, oh, a big sexy super event. It's half X-Men related. I'm back in. So yeah, sort of an anticlimactic story, but there you go.
Have you ever been out, Charlie?
Never fully out. But that being said, I do kind of have... So, I used to go to a different shop that burned down and floated around. And I do remember there was a point in time when it's like, I made it through the Clone Saga, was following Spider-Man for a while. And
I made it through the Clone Saga. They really needed to make
that was a rough couple of years.
Yeah. And then kind of got out of Spider-Man because I just got burnt out after everything. And then after they kind of went, baby, no baby, like I got burnt out there. And same thing with like the X-Men. I made it through Apocalypse the 12 and a bunch of other stuff. And then I just kind of got burnt out there. I remember, obviously, after like Superman, The Returns, again, got burnt out on Superman, stopped collecting So I kind of have all these very long sort of periods of time that I was collecting certain characters. And same with like Green Lantern, collected that and then stopped. And there were certain things that I just kind of refused to stop collecting, like Cable, because I had all the issues of Cable and I was not going to stop picking up the Cable book.
Did you stop getting Cable?
He's like, I'm the number 2 fan. How can I ever become the number 1 fan?
That wasn't answering my question. Did
I'm
you pick
going to
up every issue of Cable?
Charlie, keep going.
And then Cable got canceled. And I do remember there was a moment there where I was just kind of putzing around, picking up certain books, but not
Cable
really
wasn't around anymore.
I wasn't actually reading a lot of the books I was picking up. It was just more of a like, I'm a comic guy. I buy my comics every week. And I think I really started to like heavily engage again because of stuff like the Straczynski Spider-Man and the Bendis Ultimate Spider-Man. And like when characters you love you start seeing that sort of resurgence of really good quality in the writing. I got sucked back in. And of course, then we got John's on Green Lantern that fully got me hugely invested in Green Lantern again. And yeah, it's really just sort of tied to a lot of these really strong writers taking characters that I already loved, but wasn't really that into anymore, and giving me a reason to just be like, hold them up and be like, this is what people need to be reading.
And there we go. Read some comic books. If you've stopped, what's wrong with you?
Good talk, guys.
Yeah, I know.
So you know what's been really good is X-Men Gold.
So thank you for listening to this podcast and all our previous episodes. We have to thank-
by the way, Phoenix
Did you just want
Resurrection.
me to shut his
We
mic
talked
off?
about your stupid milkman shit, and we didn't talk about Phoenix Resurrection.
Yes, Jean Grey's back. Who cares?
Who cares? She's back, baby. I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it.
Are your ears bleeding?
No,
But Milkman Man, I mean, you know,
Yeah,
are really the better
God.
character.
Just,
So.
just do the outro.
he's so angry. He's a clone of Superman, but he doesn't understand what's going on.
Just outro us, please.
That was fucking weird. Anyway, Phoenix Resurrection was a very fitting return for Jean Grey after more than a decade of being gone. And as far as like deaths and resurrections go in the comic book world, hers makes the most sense, really. Yeah, anyway, so go read Phoenix Resurrection. It was good. And she's going to be back in the critically acclaimed of the future book, X-Men Red. I am not holding my breath. So we'll see.
It really bothers me that they're so anti-Phoenix nowadays.
Who is?
This whole idea of, okay, we could let the Phoenix re-inhabit Jean Grey, and who's been shown in the past to be able to handle being the Phoenix.
Yeah.
But no, we're going to keep letting the Phoenix jump into Quentin Quires and
Thanes.
and Thane.
Don't forget about Thane.
It's like, yeah, let's not keep the Phoenix contained somewhere. Let's let the Phoenix roam and find somebody much
Hey,
worth.
the Phoenix
as a
just
host.
wants to be free, man.
I just want more of that story that we got in the what was Marvel's Rebirth issue? Legacy #1, where there was like that original Phoenix, and that Phoenix Force had like inhabited some ancestor of Jean Grey, possibly, or whether or not it was like this idea that
Marvel like 10,000 BC.
yeah,
10
like
million BC.
that. I want to see more of like that. Are they going to do anything more with that? Like, no.
Nobody knows.
Okay, well, it was a great story, and hopefully they, do anything more with it, which would be literally anything.
Real quick, because we got an advanced copy, I want to let people know because FOC's due the 12th. The Oblivious song coming out from Robert Kirkman and
Yes.
Lorenzo De Felici.
Sounds right.
It definitely good. Like, I read it and it was amazing. Orders are due for #1 on the 12th. So if you are wanting it, you need to get it in with your local shop to say, "Hey, I want this." Put it on
Yeah,
the
if
phone.
any store doesn't order big on that, they're stupid because they're making it ridiculous to order on. Ridiculously easy to order big on. Kirkman sent out a message there through issue 12 on the book already.
Really?
He's a year ahead on the
Oh,
title.
awesome!
Yeah, so that's really good.
Like, I read that first trade, that the advanced trade that they gave, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to read more. I
Yeah.
want to read more, and I'm still going to pick up the regular
Yeah,
issues.
yeah. So, end of the month, we have to thank, or beginning of the month, we have to thank all our good friends on Patreon. So, let's thank our top tier backers. Our Albert Soy, he has Canby, that is his app that's on Google Play, and the IO app thing that Apple people use. I don't know what the hell it's called. I don't use it.
It's called Milkman OS.
Milkman OS. There you go.
It's called the App Store.
App Store. There you go. That makes sense. Canby. So this actually allows you to purchase gift kind of like gift cards and payment cards for stores that use it. We're testing it out here with a couple of our customers, and you can buy and trade gift certificates and things like that. So it's a pretty cool system. You can get some rewards points. So check out that. Julian Titus has the Nerds Without Pants podcast at pixelbit.com. That's pixelbit.com. They are, of course, the Nerds Without Pants. Ryan Hess has Blowhards, video game podcast at blowhards.libsyn.com. Jody Lawson has Canon, the Triad Comics Anthology at triadcomicstudio.com. And we have to thank our good friends Sam Che, Craig Anderson, and Joe Duff. Thank you guys very
Thank you.
much for your donations to Patreon. Kick us a couple
What a
bucks.
handsome gentleman. People supporting this thankless job that we do.
That's great.
And they're just, you know what? We're going to show these guys some love.
Well, we have to thank a bunch of other
must be
people.
handsome.
Bryce, Toby, when do you guys want to do me the honors here? No? No? Okay.
No pants.
That's not what I'm saying.
You read the list of names this week.
We've
Toby.
got our awesome list of names to people that some of our other Patreon backers
to do
to
that.
read.
I am
episodes
literally a 45-second walk away from that.
45 seconds.
Well, I would do it, but you didn't give
He
me
has to
any
walk
heads
all the
up.
way around.
Dennis
Yeah, I
Jansen.
can't. What am I going to
Jansen, I think
jump up on the table?
Alex McHale. Why don't you read that name right there?
Matthew Snup.
That's okay. Also, I think it's Schnapp. David Baroldi.
Matthew's so angry right now.
Don Kilson.
Or
Mark
happy.
Long. Michael Zakevic. Ivan Leskanik. Brian Morawski. Samurai Godzilla. Birth name, too, by the way. Miles
doubt that.
Gakula. Richard Guerrera. Matthew Holmes. Paula Schultz. How do you pronounce that?
Mark Schmidt.
Mark Smith, by the way.
It should be a patron tier just to have Toby read everything.
It'd take 90 minutes. Blake Etheridge,
Worth
Keith
it.
Amaral,
Worth
Jack Ildefonso, one of our good customers here. There you go. David Polanco, Christopher Noyes, Kevin Nguyen,
David Red Hat Man.
there you go. PJ Ryder, Tyler Wiltis, Rob Bendixon, Anarb. Sorry, caught me off guard here.
You are the
There
worst.
you go.
Bannericci.
Benergy, there you go.
There's a Nightwing fan. Good job.
Nice. Amanda Penman, Crone, Christopher Stone, Thad.
Where?
What are you jumping in?
I don't know.
You jumped in my microphone. Thad Gunshall, Sit Comics, Timothy, Chris Lockhart, Aaron Wright, Father Dante, Garen Dunbar, Brian Wilson, Nick Harrison, Chris Palaki, Kevin Ellis, Chris Olivas, Wally Ansari, Nicholas Zappas, Dominic Armisan, there you go.
Jesus Christ.
Chris Kim.
I'm just wondering how many people
There,
these
said
names
it.
have.
Who's the next one?
Chris Borch.
Are you blind? Chris Bunch,
Oh, Budge.
Gordon McKenzie, J.R. Burak, Stephen Hayden, Edgar Marino, and Andrew Crucieri. Thank you guys all very, very much. Thank you, Toby, for attempting.
I would love to read the names next time. You have to give me more 45 seconds notice, though.
Okay.
I'm just curious if the laptops, because you know how some of the screens, if you can only look direct on.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I'm
yeah.
wondering if
He has
Toby's getting one of those weird, like,
I
just from
thought there was an R.
Higgins has a privacy protector for when he's fapping to Milkman.
Go to the Comic Conspiracy. Go to comicconspiracypodcast.com, geekbox.net, and iTunes to find all our previous episodes. And rate and review us. Unlike me, I never rate and review anything on the
We
internet.
need to- have you read any of the new reviews on iTunes?
Oh, they hate us.
Do they? Yeah. Cool. The Comic Conspiracy at
they don't.
geekbox.net is where you can send some long-form questions if you want. Digital.comicsconspiracy.biz is where you can pick up some digital comics from us. You can read them on your phone or your tablet or your computer. Conspiratobrock.com, that's Brock's blog and video pull list. Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension podcast, that's Charlie's Doctor Who podcast. And Etsy.com/shop/Leanne Hill Art, that is my wife Leanne, that is her Etsy store. You can buy some art from her there. We're all on Twitter, Ryan Higgins, Ryan, Brock Sager, Larson Bryce, that's Bryce Larson. Toby is Toby XI. Insanity and Chaos, that's Charlie. The store is ComicsCon Store. And don't forget to check out the Geekbox Comedy Button and Manga Machinations and the Infinite Binge on YouTube for some other content from our friends and fellow podcastees. So thank you guys all very much. We'll catch you next week for a new episode.